This is your daily dose of all things royal.
No, you speak Spanish?
I do now, but they speak
Right.
a very different kind of Spanish. It's Castellano, so it almost sounds like Italian.
Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. Are you ready? The Sussexes are on their way to Colombia. Here is what you can expect for the next 3 days. Kicking off on Thursday, there's going to be a press conference for the fake royals given by Franny Marquez, who, of course, they have to mention this every single time, Colombia's first black vice president. Harry and Meghan will also be visiting a school in Bogota where they will interact directly with students who are exploring the digital landscape and its effects on society. They will then also attend a forum on how to promote safe digital environments organized by Colombia's vice presidency in partnership with Harry and Meghan's Archwell-Fugazi public charity. Now, we know that Meghan and Harry do not do anything for free, and going to Colombia is going to cost a pretty penny. So not only are they going to get their accommodations and their jet to fly there, they're also going to get some type of monetary compensation for appearing, because that's what Meghan and Harry have been doing. So what is Colombia going to be doing with the taxpayer money? Well, it's technically not going to be the taxpayer money if I had to guess. If what I've been saying this whole entire time is true, then the money is coming from the American taxpayer through whether it be the National Endowment for Democracy or USAID. Both of these organizations that Franny Marquez is so tightly aligned with give this woman a lot of American taxpayer dollars from the intelligence community coming from the CIA. As I had stated in my video yesterday, this woman is an asset for them. But in any case, when you see Archwell-Fugazi Public Charity in partnership with the Colombian government, now, I'm just speculating, but I think there's a high probability that the money that's going to be spent on these two idiots, as well as giving them whatever monetary compensation that they're asking for, is going to be coming from the American taxpayer through the vehicle of USAID and the National Endowment for Democracy. You see, all of this front of, playing it cool in the digital space and doing the work for the censorship industrial complex does have a reward at it. These two are not just going down there for free. And this is how the money laundering works, taking American taxpayers and running it through the foreign entities back into their pockets, all the while pushing the agenda for the government. So the big question is, are we going to be able to prove this? Probably not, because once the U.S. gives money to foreign policy and it goes overseas, chances are of knowing how that money is spent and where it goes is slim to none. You see what's happening with Ukraine. We're sending billions of dollars over there, and a lot of us have no idea what it's being spent on. It's the same thing here. And I think this is why so many people believe that money laundering is taking place, because of an example so small like this is how it gets done. So I'm guessing this is where the majority of the tax write-off is going to be, but they still have to make up something for the rest of the couple days. So perhaps maybe Harry might be visiting with the Colombian Invictus Games team while he's there just to write some of it off. I wouldn't put it past him, because you know how these two don't like to pay for anything. They don't give specific details on where the forum is or what school they're going to. Obviously, for security reasons, I do believe that Franny had an assassination attempt on her life, so now she's bringing these two into her orbit. What could go wrong? I'm sure the world wants to know what we can expect from the Duchess of Sussex. Well, for starters, she may show off her fluent Spanish, which she learned at private school that her father and her father alone paid for, and perfected at the U.S. Embassy in Argentina while she was an intern, not actually an employee. Here's a little taste of what we should expect to see.
But they speak
Right.
a very different kind of Spanish. It's Castellano, so it almost sounds like Italian.
Yeah.
¿De dónde sos? ¿Y cuándo llegaste? Mira vos.
Yeah.
¿De dónde sos? ¿Y cuándo llegaste? ¿Y cuándo llegaste? ¿De dónde Quando chegar, míralo. Quando chegar, quando chegar, míralo.
These fun-filled 3 days are certainly packed to remind people that Meghan is black, and that while in Colombia, Meghan, who has Nigerian heritage, will be visiting the first free town for Africans in the Americas. Oh, I'm sure one way that Meghan is going to bring Harry to his knees is by putting him in the situation to where he might feel forced to have to apologize for his royal ancestors. So apparently this is going down on Saturday, where Harry and Meghan will be visiting a once walled community called San Basilio de Palenque. The communities, known as palenques, founded by escaped slaves back in the 17th century, is known for its rich, unique culture, heavily influenced by residents of African heritage. The thing that's so idiotic to me is that people are entertaining Meghan's 43% Nigerian when Meghan herself hasn't even dug into her so-called background to understand her roots. So now she's going to go to this town and pretend that she's connected with her African heritage. Give me a break. Like, we know Meghan is practicing those faces in the mirror of pretending to understand her people's plight. And we're going to see a range of emotions be put on here once they go through this town to make it look like she actually understands how oppressed her people back in Africa were during that time. This is going to be like one comedy act that I think we're going to really enjoy, in my opinion. And poor Harry is going to be sitting there along for this whole charade. And you know he's going to be uncomfortable, and you know that he is going to be put in an awkward position to where he's going to piss off the crown. Then on Sunday, Harry and Meghan will be attending the Petronio Alvarez Festival, which is a music festival that happens every August to celebrate the Afro and Colombian music culture in Latin America. During the day, they will be visiting other social initiatives, most likely photo ops with vulnerable youth as well as Black children. This is probably one of the guarantees of this tour. Similar to what we see here with Meghan's snapper pal lurking in the background. Before this tour has even begun, the tone has been set, with this being about race. So Jack Royston, also known as the Ferret, is at it again, lighting the match on stoking racial division. In this article today, he publishes Meghan Markle backed Black Lives Matter in a video message that went viral on TikTok as King Charles III faces calls to condemn anti-immigration rioters. The Duchess of Sussex spoke out at a time when there were widespread anti-police protests of the murder of George Floyd by white police officer Derek Chauvin in Minneapolis in May of 2020. Now, if you don't know, George Floyd had a whole bunch of fentanyl in his system. Anyway, Meghan gave a speech to graduates at her old high school, which no one asked her to do, by the way, Immaculate Heart, in which she invoked her own childhood experiences of the 1992 Los Angeles riots that Meghan never witnessed. So Jack is flat out pushing propaganda, and this so-called viral TikTok, hardly viral, only 6,000 views at the time, Jack the Ferret's article was released, of which he continues on to say, her call for action went newly viral as King Charles III has been under pressure in Britain to condemn violence at anti-immigration protests in towns and cities across the United Kingdom, which have seen shops, police, and pedestrians attacked. So you see what Meghan and her goons are doing here. So obviously this Paige Sugar put this up on TikTok. Then they had Jack Royston write this up, and now all of a sudden it's getting more views. But they're making it look like, oh, King Charles doesn't want to talk about the far right, and putting King Charles in a position that they know he cannot speak out. Meghan, stop stirring up shit. This is exactly what she does. And now we've got this Colombia trip coming up tomorrow. Obviously, there are going to be more gaslighting by the very same people that Meghan has been paying. The fake royal tour hasn't even started yet, and my bimbo card has already started to fill up. Oh, I'm sure Meghan has a lot of gasoline ready for the next couple of days. Don't be surprised if we see Shouty Shola, Boozy, Ian Sexton, all the usual suspects come out of the woodwork to go ahead and get people all riled up online to attack the royal family. This is what Meghan does. And she's going to do it wearing expensive, wrinkled clothes, looking like a hot mess. That's a guarantee. Some are speculating that Meghan's fashion is going to include Joanna Ortiz, seen in these two photos. Remember the Hertz dress and then the zebra dress where the slit was all the way up to her hoo-ha, giving us a view that nobody asked to see? Guarantee there's going to be more of this, folks. And being that Meghan is a fashion icon, she's going to go ahead and wear something that is not appropriate for the weather, like what she did in New York, wearing winter clothing in 80-degree weather. In this case, if she does get to wear Joanna Ortiz, she most likely is going to be given something to wear from the fall 2024 collection, which I could see her sporting this. Whatever Meghan does over the next couple days is guaranteed to not only be controversial, but will make Harry at some point look bad in order to make herself look good. It's already started with today, In Touch Weekly puts this on their cover. Now, I want to read this with you because it does appear that Meghan is setting the narrative and the stage for when the time comes to go full out for this divorce. She is slowly setting the stage for what is to come. And I think that this PR is doing it to mess with Harry's mind. Take a listen. Meghan's shocking ultimatum to Harry. God, please. In any case, the article starts off with revisiting the passage that Harry put in his book Spare. It starts, he admits he may have had too much wine. When the conversation took an unexpected turn, I became touchy, then angry, disproportionately, sloppily angry. Harry writes in his memoir Spare of a drunken verbal attack on his future wife, Meghan Markle. And right here, Meghan is setting the tone with Harry being hostile. When you look at how the book Spare was written, especially in the last part of it where we know Meghan had her hands all over it, she has set him up for this exact purpose, to go back and remind people that Harry not only was hostile to her, but he also was a drug addict. You see how the narrative and manipulation is now going to come into play when it comes time for Meghan to make her move. And then Meghan coming across not as the forever victim, but the strong, independent woman that wears the pants in the house. Listen to the next part. I snapped at her. Spoke to her harshly, cruelly. Meghan walked out of the room, disappearing for a full 15 minutes. I went and found her upstairs in the bedroom. She was calm, but said in a quiet, level tone that she would never stand for being spoken to like that. She wasn't going to tolerate that kind of partner or co-parent. That kind of life, she wasn't going to raise children in an atmosphere of anger or disrespect. She laid it all out. Super clear. Okay, let me stop for a second and forgive me if this was covered when the book Spare came out and was raised, but for me, this is the first time this is sort of clicking. Looking at this paragraph, is it just me that finds it's weird? Meghan is saying, well, she wasn't going to tolerate that kind of partner or co-parent. And then she wasn't going to raise children in an atmosphere of anger or disrespect. Now, does anyone find this strange that Meghan is having this conversation with Harry when she wasn't even engaged to him as yet? In the book Spare, this story that he tells about getting upset with Meghan and yelling at her happened in December of 2016, where they were roasting chicken. I don't know about you, but if I was in the early stages of dating someone and this was my deal breaker, the last thing that I would be talking about is co-parenting or raising children with this person. Now, I may be old-fashioned, but whenever I hear the term co-parent or co-parenting, I think of two possible scenarios. The first scenario is a couple that is divorced and now they are sharing agreed responsibilities. The other scenario is a couple who are not married, but the bitch got knocked up, and whether they stay together or not, they have to figure out how they're going to make it work to raise this child. Being that Harry wants us to take this as the gospel and the truth, It sure does sound like those rumors about Meghan telling Harry that she was pregnant are true. In order to keep him, during this time in December of 2016, Harry just came back from being in Barbados, I believe, with Rihanna and taking that HIV test. During that time, Meghan was seen in Toronto looking all sad and crying and upset. It is rumored that at that time he had broken up with her. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but did Meghan bring out the pregnancy card to keep holding on to Harry? I think she would do that. Let me know if you caught this or if this was discussed back when Spare came out. But getting back to this article. And to this day, Harry takes her ultimatum very, very seriously. He knows that if he ever crosses that line again, she'll slap him with a divorce, a source tells In Touch, Meghan, adding that while therapy has helped curb Harry's nastier impulses, they still have disagreements, as most couples do. But he catches himself before he raises his voice or says something he may regret. He walks on eggshells around her. Friends are saying he's trapped in the marriage. Meghan is like such a jerk. She really does want people to think that she's some authoritative, strong figure when she's really just a totalitarian dictator. Harry's in an odd predicament. Being cut off from the royal family has left him aimless. Well, whose fault is that? Harry is getting exactly what he deserves. He didn't want to listen, and now here he is. So, boo-hoo. Noting complications with the couple's post-Megxit deals with Spotify and Netflix and an $11 million decline in contributions to their arch-Fugazi public charity. Harry has also spent years embroiled in lawsuits with UK newspapers. He's just never really found his footing outside the royal family. Instead, he's continued his fixation on persuading his father, King Charles, and the UK government to reinstate police protection for his family so he can safely return to his home country with Meghan and kids Archie and little Betty. It's still dangerous, and all it takes is one lone actor, one person to act, Harry said in a recent interview. And these are things that are genuine concern for me. It's one of the reasons why I won't bring my wife back to this country. But experts have pointed out security would also be a concern in the US and other countries. The pair visited Nigeria earlier this year and have announced plans to visit Colombia. So his complaining about England being unsafe seems like a flimsy excuse for why they really haven't been back as a family, says the source. He seems desperate to go home, while Meghan doesn't have any interest in returning to England. No, you don't say. She's exactly where she wants to be. Meghan grew up in LA, and she's very happy to be based in California again, says the source. Meghan. With her American Riviera Orchard line, the former actress has also returned to producing the kind of content that she used to do with her lifestyle website, The Tig, long before her royal wedding. You know, it doesn't matter how Meghan tries to spin this, she is back to where she started, as a nobody. And here she is making it sound like her life is so wonderful when she hasn't produced anything. Only now, it's on a much larger scale. She has this new platform because of Harry. Well, yeah, but even given this platform, she's still failing. So what's the excuse? And while her soft launch has so far involved sending limited batches of preserves and dog biscuits to friends, like how many of them? 12? The former actress is planning to introduce a rosé and an array of other products. Yeah, okay, when pigs fly. She also recently finished filming her cooking show, which has gotten good early buzz. Nope, that's not what I heard. She was even in her element, reports The Insider. Meghan. She loves being in front of the camera. No shit, Sherlock. Harry definitely does not. A lifetime in the spotlight has made him intensely private, says the source. He's made it clear he's deeply uncomfortable giving glimpses into their personal life. And as far as he's concerned, a cooking and home goods brand was never part of their plan. He always wanted to focus on charitable endeavors. They're moving in different directions. Now, you see here, folks, all this talk about what Meghan is doing has nothing to do with charity. This article couldn't be any more clear that Meghan super hoodwinked Harry into thinking they were going to be together and do this life of service when Meghan never had the intention to stay within the family. It was always her intention to go back to California with this new status, thinking that it was going to catapult her into the billionaire stratosphere with these people that she has been desiring to be around her whole entire life. What the dumbest woman on the planet is failing to understand is that even with this platform that has been given to her by the royal family, not Harry, the royal family, she's still a very unlikable person. So it doesn't matter if she's married to a prince. She's just a horrible human being. Who wants to be around that? No one. Anyway, let me hurry up and finish the rest of this article. So they're leading separate lives, which we know, or at least a lot of us can tell. It says here, sometimes quite literally. Meghan recently took a trip to the Hamptons in New York to network with other elite businesswomen like Gwyneth Paltrow, Reese Witherspoon, and her old pal, makeup mogul Bobby Brown at the G9 Ventures Summer Summit. You see how they're making it sound like Meghan's some A-list independent power player? Get out of here. We know that Reese Witherspoon, Gwyneth Paltrow, and any of the other stars that were there wanted nothing to do with Meghan. But anyway, this is the image that she's trying to project. She was right at home there. Meghan's confidence has no bounds, says the source. Meghan. Noting that Harry, who was alone with the kids in Montecito, 3,000 miles away, is growing frustrated and insecure about his place in the marriage, says the source. Meghan. Harry is still searching for a meaningful purpose in the U.S. Let's be real, folks. Did anyone really see Harry being here for the long term? I never did. Any case. They did put up a united front recently with a joint interview with CBS News Sunday Morning. They both know how to fake it for the cameras, notes the source. Meghan. Harry has talked of spending much of his time in the royal family forced to cooperate with the press, while Meghan herself confessed to have suicidal thoughts even as she smiled her way through a black tie gala in London on 2019, which we know is not true. They were discussing online bullying and kids' mental health, which is exactly the kind of work Harry wants to do. Well, notice they don't say Meghan wants to do it. Anyhow, lately he has gotten many of those opportunities. While he still has the Invictus Games, which he started before meeting Meghan, their goals and interests have definitely diverged, says the source. Meghan. But even if he is unhappy with the way things are going, he has no other options. If he lost Meghan, he'd have nothing left. Well, whose fault is that? Really, let's ask the honest question. Meghan has destroyed everything, and the one last thing that Harry has, which is Invictus Games, is also now going in the toilet as a result of Meghan. In my opinion, this cover story with In Touch Weekly is coming from Meghan's camp, and it does feel like to me that she is laying the groundwork to paint Harry as this unstable, hostile person. I mean, she set him up with the book Spare. Any spouse that will allow their significant other to put something out like that and not even be by his side when he had to go do all those interviews and handle all the blowback that was coming from it with the lies that were being put in there just shows what she was doing. I mean, she literally set this guy up and she managed to take everything away from him. So if I were to say what is one thing that Meghan was successful at, it would be this. She successfully took a prince and literally destroyed him into practically nothing. And you cannot feel bad because look at all the people that he has hurt as well as exploited. In addition, would he be feeling bad about you? No. So if he chooses to go lay down with this dirty, greasy woman, let him. Whatever he picks up from that mattress is on him. Nobody's fault. Get ready, folks. We're going to see some cracks over the next couple days, and it's going to be delicious. So make sure that you are subscribed here and you have that notification bell on because I will be covering this. But what do you guys think? Do you think that this article came from Meghan's camp? Do you think we're starting to see that we're in this divorce era? Or do you think that they put this out there and they're doing it just to keep their names in the headlines? Sometimes I feel like it, but for whatever reason, this article makes me feel like it's coming from Meghan and Meghan is speaking here. But definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe and I will talk to you later. Bye.
I was such a fraud.